Hello, beautiful. I'm your host, Nicole Goff. Welcome to the Ecstatic Life Podcast, the podcast for women who want it all: health, wealth, freedom, authenticity, love, beauty, all of the hidden gems just waiting to be uncovered. This is the podcast for women who are ready to discover their inner creatrix, to discover their inner manifester, and who want to find the ecstatic in every day. Hi, and welcome back to the Ecstatic Life Podcast. I am host Nicole Goff, and today I am here with Francesca Wilson, who is a home educating mom of 2 boys, and she has been on a journey of growth and freedom since the birth of her eldest. She and her family travel the world. They are 7 years deep into their home education journey with a love of travel, the great outdoors, building strong family bonds, and sharing it with other families while they do the same. So we are here to talk about how world school can make your life more ecstatic. And I am super excited to learn about this because I am a lifetime homeschooling mom. I was homeschooled as a child. My 5 kids have all been homeschooled, and world schooling is something that we have not experienced. So I am super excited about this conversation, and I know that I am going to learn a lot. So welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. And I love that you were homeschooled as well, because I find that we don't actually meet that many people who were homeschooled before we were homeschooled. It's quite a novice, like a new concept, isn't it? It's quite like I've had one other person that I've met who was homeschooled prior to home educating her own children. Never met any, like very many people like that. So I love that you were homeschooled and thought, no, I'm taking that onto my kids as well. So yeah, that's very exciting. Yeah, in terms of world schooling, it's such a massive concept. Like there's so many different angles you could go from it. So people might think world schooling and be like, that is huge. What is it? Where do I start? Where do I begin? It could be as anything from I'm driving 2 hours up north, down south, west, east, wherever it is you live, and deciding to just explore the world and take it and learn from it and make it your classroom. Because that's essentially what we're doing, right? We don't want a typical classroom. That's why we home educate to begin with. And there's so much out there to be seen in the world. And it can go as little as, like I say, a small trip, or it could just be people who are selling everything that they own and just being complete and utter nomads, traveling the world, no destination planned, just free spirited.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
That, like my free-spirited nature, would like so long for that. But I can hear my husband's voice in the back of my head right now, and he would be like having a panic attack.
Mm-hmm. So I have done like a little bit of both. So we did sell our house in, what year are we in now? 2025. So 2022, we sold our house and didn't have another house to go to. And we were pretty nomadic. We didn't have any of our belongings, like it was all in storage, and we bounced around. We did, a few different countries. We island hopped around the Canaries, and then we went over to Costa Rica for a couple of months and absolutely loved it. But I am someone who also likes a little bit of home comfort. So as much as I love, like I'm free spirited and, I love being out there in the world, equally, I need the comfort of a base. So that's not for everyone. Some people are absolutely fine with being out in the world constant, no plans, no base, few belongings, but I like the comfort of having a base. Whether I return to it once every 6 months or it's I'm done after 4 weeks, let's return, I have somewhere to go back to.
Yeah, that's kind of like the best of both worlds. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
let's start back at the beginning. So your eldest is 11, and
Yeah.
you were on a totally different path before
Mm-hmm.
you had your boys. So start us back there from the beginning
Mm-hmm.
and how you got to this exciting life.
So yeah, my eldest was born in 2014. Prior to that, so I did my history degree, and then I did a master's in law, and I was working in a legal background, and my goal was to be a high flying, dare I say, materialistic career woman. Like that's how I envisioned my life, being in the height of London, earning good money, spending thousands on handbags. That's what I wanted from my life. And it took having my first child and that end of maternity leave approaching and coming to an end for me to be like, that's not me. I think I was the first person in my family to be told you can go to uni, like I was the first person to do that, take that next further education step. And I also went to, I don't know, like in England, they have what we call grammar schools. I don't think, do you have those?
No, I don't think the terminology is the same over here. Explain that for the Americans.
So in England, grammar schools are people, I don't want to say smarter, but they're where the smarter end of children, like it's just, I don't know how to word it without sounding unkind. Do you know what I mean? It's
Okay.
you have to pass an entrance test to get into it. You are considered more intellectual and you're placed into these schools and it's very high pressure. You don't go into that school to say, okay, I want to work on a checkout. Like that would be absolutely, that's a no-go. There is no choice but you go to uni. That is it. So I was very much driven down that path. So I did that, coming to the end of maternity leave, and I was like, I don't think this is for me. I don't know if that really is me. I don't want to say peer pressured, but there was just the way I was taught to go and was driven to go. So my husband and I sat down, and then we came to the decision that I wouldn't return to work, and we would stick it out until school time came. And then the approaching school came. And by this point, we were traveling a lot. So my husband's self-employed as a plumber. And we were used to saying, there's not a lot of work on next week. Should we just, from England, go take the ferry across and drive through France to Spain? Like just on a whim, do these things. And so the school was approaching. And again, very different to the American school system. In England, you can't take your children out of school during term time without a fine. You get fined for taking your children out of school. So we were just like, no, I don't need the government telling me what I can and cannot do with my child. This is my child. So I started looking into other options and by happy accident found home educating. And that's just how we ended up on this journey, just carrying on what we was doing, never set foot in a school system. My youngest was then born in 2017 and we've just carried on traveling and living and doing our own thing, really.
Ah, that's beautiful. Yeah. F the system. We're gonna do our own thing. I'm all
Yeah,
about it. Well, I
yeah.
have one of the first questions I have for you because
Hmm.
when I was listening to your podcast and like checking you out, I caught your home education versus homeschool episode, which I think that
Hmm.
was like the very first episode you did on your podcast,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
So I would love it if you explain for my audience because here in
Hmm.
America, like homeschool is the term that we use, but I loved
Hmm.
how you defined the difference between not bringing the school system into your home.
Hmm.
That is something I am super passionate about. And
Hmm.
we personally do what I call unschooling,
Hmm.
and a lot of it's nature school or, it's there's all these different terms, but we basically, it's like child-led learning. We follow their interests. We
Hmm.
follow what we want to do. We don't go by any like set
Hmm.
rules, but I would love to hear your breakdown of this.
Hmm. So in the UK, again, in comparison to what my understanding of the USA is, we don't have to follow a curriculum at all. There is nothing within our legal guidelines which says we have to follow a curriculum. All the law states is that the children have to have a reasonable education to their needs, their aptitude, and just relevant to them. So when people say to us, obviously, speaking of homeschooling, we're like, well, no, because I'm not bringing a school into my home. So for us, the way we like kind of consider it is that homeschooling is bringing school essentially to the home, excuse me, because you have to follow a curriculum. We don't have to do that. We're following an education. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if I like the term home educating because I don't want to be at home. I, like you say, I want to be out in nature. I want to be off here and there and everywhere. So I actually find it hard to put a label on it and to put a grasp on it. And I think that's why a lot of people don't understand what it is and what we do. Because if I say, oh, I'm a home educator or I'm a homeschooler, but they see me out on the beach at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, why aren't you sat down doing schoolwork? Because they're in that mindset of 9 till 3, kids should be doing school. That's not, so I always want to get rid of the home as well. Like, what else can we call it? How do I ditch that word? Whether it's educating or schooling, I don't want the home in it. So for us, that's the basics difference of, I wouldn't like someone to say, or not that it massively phases me, but some people in the UK can get a little upset by it of, oh, you homeschool then? No, because I'm not creating school at home. I'm educating within the home. So that's the differences, like the basics of it.
Yeah, and there's all of these different labels that get put
Hmm.
on us or we put on ourselves. And I agree with you. This is something I'm very passionate about because I do not want to bring the school system into my house. That's the reason we stay out of the school system. And I see that with a lot of homeschoolers. And so this distinction, I had never heard it before. But this distinction, when I heard it on your podcast, really piqued my interest because this is something I have a homeschool cooperative, that we get together
Hmm.
a couple of days a week. And I see a lot of the moms that are new to this world. They're basically taking the model that they know, which if
Hmm.
they spent 12 years of, regular schooling, regular education, they take that model that they know and then they implement it in their own home.
Hmm.
And it creates such friction with the kids. And so, I use the term deschooling to,
Yeah.
educate yourself away from that, or unschooling to,
Hmm.
which sounds like uneducated, but
Yeah.
you're getting away from that model. And so there's all of these terms. Life school is another one that I throw around
Hmm.
sometimes because really what it is at its core is you are learning through your experiences. And
100%.
everything is learning. Anything, life is learning, and so yeah, none of the labels really ever fit or apply to me either. And it's not that the kids are not learning, because I will tell you, my kids are very smart. Very,
Hmm.
very intelligent, very smart, and can figure things out, know how to speak to people, know how to speak to adults, very engaging. So it's not that they're not learning. They're just
Hmm.
not learning in this traditional model that most people
Hmm.
think of that you have to abide by.
Hmm.
So you guys, at least part of the time, are doing what you call world schooling. So can you
Yeah.
explain that for someone who has never heard it before?
So when we are out on our travels, we are just, I'm not going on holiday and I'm not going on booking an all-inclusive resort and sitting by the pool. I'm out there. We are immersing in culture, in history, and the geography and languages. And that is the most beautiful education I feel like I can ever give my kids. Like my kids, when we went to India, we were just welcomed into two Indian weddings. So out in India as a white person, you are literally like, whoa, and everyone is so just wow by you. And they literally say to you, guests are God, and they will treat you like absolute godly beings. Um, inviting you into their homes, feeding you meals. And like I say, we got invited to two weddings. I can never teach my children, or no school could ever teach my children from a textbook about the culture of an Indian wedding, like I was able to provide them by us going to India and then being fully immersed in that. So for me, world schooling is real life education. It's being out there and taking the time to talk to people. And like you say, my kids can talk to anyone from a 2-year-old to a 100-year-old, no matter the language. Even if there's a barrier, they'll find a way. And I think that's something which perhaps is sometimes missing in school children as well, because we're forcing them into this little bubble of, oh, here you go. There's 30 children that are all 11 years old. So you must mesh well, you must click. That's that. And there's nothing broadening that horizon. But for us being out there in the world, their horizons are beyond even my imagination. Like when I went to India, I didn't anticipate rocking up to a couple of weddings. Like they just would have even crossed my mind. Or when we was in Thailand, we got lost in this little village and it was quite late and there was nothing open. And we just saw this random little pizza shack. And we went over there and we said to the lady, "Are you open?" She's like, "No, I'm closed." And we were like, "Oh, okay, it's fine." And she went, "Do you know what? Sit down." She sat us down. she made the boys pizza and she went, but you guys don't want pizza, right? And was like, no. She's hopped on a little moped, zipped down the market, went and bought a load of fresh food and come back and cooked it for us in her own home, didn't charge us a penny, refused to take any money, and we just sat there and had a traditional Thai meal, which my kids ended up getting involved with, even though they'd obviously had their pizza. Um, Again, you're not going to find that in a textbook. That's world schooling for me.
Yeah, and something that I want to highlight too is the kindness of people. Those stories just highlight that. And that was my experience. We took two of our kids to El Salvador. We went on a trip to El Salvador a couple of years ago, and our two youngest came along with us, and
Mhm,
the two older ones stayed with their grandma. And the niceness, the kindness that we experienced. My Spanish is limited and my husband's is almost non-existent. How patient and kind and generous everyone was. And I feel
mhm,
like in the West, I know here in America, this is definitely a thing. A lot of times you are treated just so coarse, rude,
mhm,
and even the vast difference between the airport in Miami, where we departed from,
mhm,
and when we arrived and getting back, the way that just, the stewardesses and the people checking you in and out and checking your luggage, the way that they treated you and spoke to you was so different. And I feel like that
mhm.
experience of other cultures being welcoming is so good for kids.
100%. I feel like as a westernized culture, we're so rush and so go, go, go. And it's like we've forgotten how to talk to people. And it's like a massive concept that which comes up when we say that we home educate is, well, what about socialization? And I want to shake people and say, well, you guys aren't socializing all that great, are you? You're walking down the street with your heads in your phone. You're rude to waitresses when they're trying to take your order. Like you say, at the airport, it's all just, I'm work, work, work. And I understand that it is the pressure of the countries that we live in. But I feel like if everyone was to just to take a little step back from that and realize that's not how it has to be. Like you say, the kindness and just the the slowness of other countries. Like when we spent a couple of months in Costa Rica, they've got this phrase, pura vida. I don't know if you've heard it before, and it literally translates to pure life. But they say it for anything and everything. Like you could be walking down the street, bump into their shoulder, and you're like, oh, sorry, ah, pura vida. They just don't care. If I did that to someone down in London, I might, I might not live to tell the tale. Maybe a little bit dramatic, but it's just I'm going to be met with rudeness. I'm not going to be, it's okay. And yeah, I definitely feel like being out there in the world, it's a whole nother level of seeing that there is still compassion and kindness and generosity out there, which I feel like we've kind of starting to lose a bit as a society, to be honest.
I agree. I agree. And I haven't traveled to Europe, and so I don't have anything particularly experiential, but I
Mhm,
know that both of our cultures being Western cultures, there is a lot of similarity. And I do
mhm,
see that. And it was like a shock to the system when we landed in Miami, how rude and just everything, like you said, the slow life. It was like the fast-paced, brighter, louder, just everything just kind of like, whoa,
mhm.
shock to the system
Yeah.
to come back. And I immediately missed that slow pace. And it
Mm,
isn't just a slow pace because you're on vacation or because
mm-mm.
you're traveling. It's the slow pace of some of these countries, the way that it is built into their culture and the way that they live. And especially I find like the beach culture, like
Yes.
that is my jam.
I'm I'm here for the beach culture, hands down. I will not move anywhere in the world unless I am less than 15 minutes from a beach. And even 15 minutes is pushing it. I'm not going to lie. I need to be near the sea. But I would like to say that it's not Europe as a whole. So we've traveled a lot of Europe extensively as well. So Spain, for example, such a slower, like they have their siestas in the afternoon, but when it gets all hot, so they'll go indoors for like 2, 3 hours, take a little nap. They have a very family orientated lifestyle. So in the evenings, in the restaurants at 7, 8 o'clock at night, it's not unheard of to see kids running around, but not in a chaotic, hectic way, as in they're chatting to the people at the table next door. They're chatting with the waiters that are serving down the other end of the restaurant, and that's very well accepted. Same Greece, very, very slow family. So I don't think it's all of Europe. I don't know where it's come from with the UK. It's obviously just been a gradual process, but Mediterranean, no, you're good. You're going to get slowed down pace of life.
Yeah, that's where a lot of my family is from. My uncle is in Greece right now. Yeah, I would love to. Maybe he'll fly me over for a visit soon.
Yes,
This
Greece is
podcast.
beautiful. Yeah, I love
Oh.
Greece. I love Greece. It was always one of my nan's favorite places. And I remember her telling me it was the first place I actually went to. So I hadn't actually traveled pre my first ever flight was when I was 17. I never went. I took the ferry across to France from England a few times, but apart from that, my mum had a fear of flying. I had never flown until I met my partner, who's obviously now my husband, and like he opened up this world for me. And my first ever holiday was off to Rhodes in Greece, and it will always hold a special place in my heart. That's, I mean, my first kind of, wow, this is what's out there. This is what's beyond the grey and miserable of England.
Mm. Well, so your boys now, how many countries have they been to?
Do you know what? I don't actually know. I was trying to think about this the other day because I was trying to create an Instagram. I was thinking, oh, there's a little trend going around on Instagram where people are like writing how many countries they've been to and stuff. And I thought, I need to do that. I think it's around 15 for my eldest and slightly less for my youngest because we've doubled up a lot of places like Spain. We used to go there pretty much every other year pre-COVID. And that was both of my boys' first trips. We did the Dover to Calais ferry, drove through France into Spain. So it's both my boys' first trips. But I think it's about, yeah, 15 for my eldest and 12 maybe for my youngest.
Yes, your sons are more well traveled than me for sure.
It's just, yeah, well, it is for a lot of adults. I hear a lot of adults say the same, but yeah, I love it. And I'm glad that they both love it as well, because obviously that's another big fear, isn't it? That, they don't enjoy this lifestyle. Or what if they don't get on board with it? But my eldest has been so we've not done much traveling over the past year because we're renovating a derelict property. And my eldest is like, when are we going away next? I'm like, it's coming, okay, trust me, I want to go as well. But he's proper like, when's next? When are we going next? So I'm lucky. They both love it.
I have 50-50. So we have five
Okay.
kids, and three of them love to travel, and two of them
hmm
are homebodies like my husband. My
hmm
husband, he can do some little vacations, but packing up and getting out of his routine is not in his comfort zone. So
hmm
so we have a
But you
bit of
hear
a
a lot.
conflict.
You do hear of that a lot. And I do a lot of talk about this on the podcast as well with other people that I'm talking to that are world schooling. And a lot of them are actually very routined. Like you would think, they're out there in the world. Like, how do they manage that? But majority of people, if it's a permanent lifestyle, they'll try to stay somewhere for at least like a month, if not more. So slow travel, if it's permanent. So they still have their routine of I'll get up, I'll eat my porridge, I'll do this, I'll do that. It's just taking that routine from a different location each time, which again isn't for everybody. Perhaps a camper van you guys would do because then you've got your home on wheels.
Yeah, yeah. And I have some friends that have done that life for sure and traveled all around the country. So, that's one nice
hmm
thing about America. Like, it's such a big country with so many
hmm
states. Really, you can practically feel like you're in a different country if you travel. We're in Florida. So from
Yep.
from here, I traveled out to Utah and it's so
hmm
vastly different. So
hmm
you can get a lot of that experience just on the road here without even having to fly. And speaking of flying, I had a question for you because
hmm
in my experience with flying with kids, that is the most difficult aspect of the traveling. So,
hmm
do you have like a quick run of travel tips with children? Because that is something, I mean, I don't know if you have an ebook or something about that, but
hmm
that is something that I would definitely buy if you did.
I actually, to be honest, haven't found it that difficult, but and I think it's because it's something they've done from very young age. We are quite low screen, so I don't do any screens, especially for short haul. They have like Yoto players. So I don't know if you've seen those. They're like mini, like almost like an MP3 player in a sense, but they come with like little cards and you can slot the card into this little box and it's their headphones and you can get music on them, stories on them, but also educational like non-fiction books and things on there as well. So they're quite happy with them. Snacks, plenty of snacks, always for the win, snacks, and normal books as well, and colouring. And when they were younger, I used I don't know if it's like magnetic tiles in books and things as well, like puzzles and things like that. When we're longer haul, obviously you have the screen in front of you, so you're given the TV for longer haul, and I will let them play some of the games and like TV for that. But I try to do night flights so that that's not there in front of them, because obviously if it's there in front of them, you're on a flight for 11, 12 hours, you're feeling a little bit like agitated, what can I do? So if I do night flight, then I can get the majority of this time sleeping out of them. Then by the time you deduct meal times, they're not spending a lot of time, maybe a film and a couple of games. But yeah, Yoto players are definitely a big hack for us. We love those, like I say, the audio books, normal books. Yeah,
Is
just
that
trying to keep it.
YOTO?
YOTO. Yes, they're tiny. Like I say, tiny. They're about,
I'll try
I
to
don't know.
remember to link that in my show notes because I
Yeah.
imagine other people that are listening are going, oh, yeah. Because I know that's, again, in the homeschool, unschool, home education, whatever, however you want to label it, world, limiting
Hmm.
screen time is a big part of that. And
Hmm.
that's something I've found when I have traveled with kids is that they end up with so much more screen time because
Hmm.
when you're flying, driving, whatever long trips, and they have to sit in a seat confined, they start
Hmm.
getting very fidgety and
Yeah.
disruptive. And so the first thing you do is like, okay, fine, here, watch some YouTube. And
Hmm.
I hate
Yeah.
that. So yeah, so being prepared is what I'm hearing, like having things
Yeah.
on hand, ready to
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, Sudoku. My eldest is an absolute lover of Sudoku, and that's quite a time filler. Sudoku, puzzles, mazes. There are things to be done. I would just perhaps as well, if it's not something that your kids are normally doing, perhaps make sure that it's introduced into their routine a little bit beforehand. Because obviously, if you're just going on your trip and you're like, here you go, here's some puzzles, unless they've already interested in doing those, they're going to see it for what it is. You're trying to keep them busy and occupy them, and especially the younger kids. I'm not falling for that trick. So try and find something paper based or something like that that is going to spark their interest on the lead up to, and so they're happy to take it on board.
Mm. So you said, like 12-hour flights. Like, what's the furthest you guys have been?
Yeah, so that's 12-hour flight. That would have been off to Thailand. We've we've been New York. That's only 7.5 hours for us. It's pretty quick. That's not actually too bad. But yeah, Thailand would be our furthest, I think. Or maybe India might be a little bit. It's around the 12-hour mark for Thailand and India.
And so did that really throw off your circadian rhythm? Did you guys get jet lag? How did your whole family handle that?
So the first time we flew to Thailand, my youngest was only 18 months old. So he's pretty easy to fit into because obviously he was still kind of just, you make him sleep whenever he wants to sleep, that kind of age. And my eldest would have
Stick
been
them on the boob or
4. Yeah, just, keep him occupied and it just, you know, cradle, off you go to sleep. Um, I don't really feel like there was, I remember being very long actually. The taxi coming back onto to the first hotel was really, really tired, but I feel like we got into quite a good rhythm and fell asleep. The second time we actually landed on New Year's Eve and we got to the hotel and it's about 8, 9 o'clock at night and I was grumpy. I was like, I am tired. I am going to bed. And my husband's like, no, Fran, it's New Year's Eve. You cannot do that. And I was like, no, no. He was like, no. Anyway, he dragged me out and we went to this New Year's Eve and it was like the fireworks in Bangkok City. Absolutely the best thing ever. It's really strange because it wouldn't happen here. Like all the fireworks went off at midnight, and then the crowd just dispersed like normal civilized human beings. No, no fighting, no alcohol, no nothing, and all just went off on their own separate ways to go get some food. So that's exactly what we did. We just went and ate a big pad thai, and then came back to the hotel and went to sleep. And I think staying up put us obviously into the right time zone, and we fell into the rhythm quite easy. On the flip side, Costa Rica, coming back from that time zone, we took going into it, we felt fine. I think because we're just so exhausted, we can fall asleep and have a long sleep. So as long as we try to at least go to bed at like 8, 9 o'clock at whatever their time is, we can just sleep through. If it's 15, 16 hours, that's fine. And we get up at the normal time. So we're pretty good at doing that. But coming back from Costa Rica, that took us a good week to get. We was up until like
Mm.
2, 3 o'clock in the morning most days because we couldn't get to sleep. And then obviously sleeping until 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That took a long time to settle down. That hemisphere just shook us a lot more than the Asian side does.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be closer. That's our next trip
Hmm.
that we're planning is Costa Rica. But yeah, that's not far from us, so that wouldn't be a bad one.
Hmm.
And El Salvador wasn't too bad either. That was only a 3 or 4 hour flight. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's we haven't gone on a long flight, and so that's definitely something that's been in the back of my mind because I can hear that
Hmm.
that can throw off your circadian rhythm so much.
Hmm.
So I'm curious of all
Hmm.
the places you've traveled. You said, where were you thinking? Like, if you settled down, it would be a beach, but have you found a
Hmm.
place where you're like, this is it, this place speaks to me, or are you guys still exploring the world?
So we bought a place here in the Scottish Highlands. Obviously, I'm English from like outskirts of London, and this was going to be our base, and we were going to travel from here. Unfortunately, we just don't feel like it meets what we want as a base. So we are on the hunt for a fresh base to travel from. It would have absolutely been Costa Rica. We loved Costa Rica, but unfortunately, it's illegal to homeschool as permanent residents. So that just completely and utterly knocked us. And we have spent months back and forth in trying to figure out where. It's surprising how many countries it's actually illegal. And it just is such a massive factor for us, obviously. And we've had discussions in groups, and people were like, oh, why don't you try a school in Costa Rica? Because it might be different. They might like it. And I get that it might be a different system, but it still doesn't fit my lifestyle. My lifestyle is still, even if I've got the best base in the world, there's still more countries I need to see. Like, I could be absolutely happy, got my beach on my doorstep, the sun is always shining. I've got fresh fruit in my garden that I can go pick. The boys have got the pool in the back garden they can go swim in, but I've still got other places I need to go see. So a school's just not going to fit our lifestyle and what we want to, take on from the world. So we have somewhere in mind, but we've not kind of like put it out there into the public space yet. So you
Oh,
have
okay.
to watch this space, but we have somewhere in mind, which we are hoping to go to January, February time. And we're going to rent out a place for about 6 months. So have like a temporary residence, see if it's what we want, and then we will buy our base.
Exciting. Yeah,
Hmm.
so everybody listening has to follow along
Hmm.
because that won't be long after this podcast is coming out, so they'll
Okay.
get to find out. I saw a post that you did with, I think it was your top 5 countries where homeschooling is legal. Could you give
Hmm.
us those 5?
So in in general, the where it is legal, we have obviously the UK, America. Obviously, I've not been to all of these places. Mexico, it's legal. Guatemala, I believe, is also legal. Ecuador, a lot of that kind of, but strangely enough, not Costa Rica.
Control.
It's really strange, but I think a lot of people think Costa Rica is because they see a lot of world schooling hubs, but it's because they're there on tourist visas. So they're not obviously having to abide by the Costa Rican laws. As soon as you want to relocate there and have it as your permanent residency, then obviously you have to abide by their laws, which means schooling. Um, this side of the world, Portugal is, but quite strict, but it is legal. Italy is legal. So it's obviously Ireland, Wales, and Scotland, so all of, the whole of the UK. But there's not tons, unfortunately. There's not tons.
Yeah, and that's surprising. What about India?
Mhm. India, I believe, is, but like when we were out there and we were telling people that we home educate, completely off their radar. They have no idea what it is. It's straight over their heads. And to be honest,
Wow.
I haven't looked into India as much as I enjoyed being there. That's fast pace. It's quite overwhelming. We attempted to drive from Mumbai to Goa, and we made it half the way. And there were a few pockets of quiet along the way, like a few pockets of beach, but they were so rural and so secluded. But in general, the whole of India is a bit too overwhelming for me and a bit too fast paced.
Yeah, I haven't traveled to Asia, but it seems like the whole of Asia is a bit fast paced.
Thailand's not. Thailand isn't. So
Mm.
my husband's dad actually grew up in Thailand. So I have a strong connection with Thailand. We will always go back and forth to Thailand. And again, I would have moved there. Homeschooling is legal in Thailand, actually. It's legal in Thailand, but it's not legal to buy a property there. So it's so hard trying to juggle all of these factors because I want to be able to buy my home because I want it as my secure base. Um, and I couldn't do that in Thailand. Otherwise, Thailand definitely would have been another option for us. Like we speak a bit of Thai. Like I said, my husband's dad was raised in Thailand. We've been there a few times and spent a few months there that we feel it would have that familiarity for us. But that being said, equally as well, the south of Thailand is very touristy and a bit more fast paced, which is where obviously all the beaches are. And the north of, I love the north of Thailand because it's pure culture and it's just so, insanely beautiful, but there's no beach. So I would struggle to find my spot in Thailand where I would want to live.
Hello, loves. A quick pause here to share something exciting. If you've been enjoying the Ecstatic Life podcast, you can now support the show on Patreon for just $5 a month. Your support helps to keep these soulful conversations flowing, and you'll get exclusive bonus content like health and wellness tutorial videos to help you live more intentionally and joyfully every day. I also wanted to let you know that I will be taking a little creative pause from Thanksgiving through New Year's to rest, reset, and prepare for season 2 coming in 2026 with a fresh new look, a brand new studio, and even more inspiring guests, practices, lifestyles, and modalities to help you live your most ecstatic life. During the break, I will be releasing some of my favorite podcast guest appearances and my most loved episodes of 2025. So stay tuned, stay inspired, and if you'd like to support the show, you can join me on Patreon today, patreon.com/Nicole Goff Speaks. Back to the show. Yeah, I love all these like the taste of all the different experiences you have and hearing about that. I would love to travel more, and I believe in the near future it will be in the cards. And so did you travel while your kids were babies? Because my youngest is 2.5, so he's out of the
Mm.
baby phase. And I know that babies are a whole different ball game. Did you experience
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, so both of my boys, both of their first trips were when they were 3 months old. And
Mm.
for both of them, it was 3 or 4 weeks driving through France into Spain. So we've done it from 3 months until current ages.
Wow. I think most people would think that was really brave.
I know, and do you know what as well? A few people are like, well, what's the point? Because they won't remember it. And that really saddens me as well because I remember it. It's my
Yeah.
motherhood as well as their childhood. And I remember it. We have those pictures. We know what we've done. Like it's a beautiful experience for me as well as for them, even if they don't remember it. I mean, there must be a part of them somewhere which perhaps doesn't remember it, but makes you feel safe, I guess, because there's never been any feeling of unsafeness or that uncertainty around traveling. And that's probably because, let's say, my youngest was 18 months and we backpacked Thailand for 6.5 weeks, and he was just in a backpack on our backs at 18 months old. um a few people be like, whoa, Thailand for like that length of time with an 18-month-old, but it I don't know, it didn't seem strange to us.
Yeah, and it gives the kids so much experience like that,
Mhm,
their world is so opened up. And
mhm,
you said something, you brought in fear, the word fear, and that just made me think. I imagine that there are some people out there that might be thinking, oh my gosh, that's scary. The idea of traveling to foreign countries that I've never been to, cultures I've never experienced with
mhm.
my children. What would you say to that?
I would say, for me personally, I would rather regret the thing that I did do rather than the thing that I didn't do. So even if it doesn't turn out to be what you were hoping, you're still going to have gained experience from that, knowledge from that, and that's something that it can't be taken away from you. And fear as well, it's not a real emotion. It's just what we create in our head. And it's so easy. Like if I listened, because especially going into Mumbai, I was a little bit on edge. Like, all the stories of don't go there. We went to the Dharavi slums. So we went to the poorest area in Mumbai that you can possibly find. And if you listen to stories of people, oh, what are you doing that for? That's too dangerous. You can't take the kids there. I wouldn't do any of these things. And I'm not saying don't go with caution, go with caution. Make sure you're well prepared. You know, all the typical things like no phone on show, no purse on show, all of those kind of things, especially when you're going into these types of areas that are well populated. But if you let strangers talk you out of doing something and that triggers fear for you, you're probably not going to do half the things that you want to do because there's always going to be someone who's going to say to you, no, it's not a good idea. And it's their fear. And it's not even just their fear. I think sometimes it's I don't know, their lack of desire to experience things. So they're transferring that onto you, and you've got to do what you want to do. Like the fears, you can tell it off. You can tell it no. I go back to the film Luca. Have you seen Luca, the Disney film?
Hmm.
Silencio Bruno. Always Silencio
Hmm.
Bruno. That tell him off. Like you don't need to listen to him. If that's what your heart is telling you want to do and your mind is telling you want to do, go and do it.
Mm. And another thing I would love for you to dispel. So I imagine a lot of people think, well, I couldn't do that because of finances. So
Hmm.
how do you guys handle that? I know you do like online yoga teaching. And
Hmm.
so how do you handle that aspect of it for someone who's like, oh, I could never make enough money.
So again, that's going to vary from family to family. So I have people on my podcast who have sold up everything and they are literally running on their house sale. For me, we did that for a little while and like the money's going to go quicker than you think, especially because you live to your means, don't you? If you make £500 this month or $500 or £5,000 or $5,000, you're going to spend whatever it is you've made because we tend to live within our means. So seeing a large lump of money in my bank account from a house sale, we were just we overspent. I can categorically say we overspent our first kind of like nomadic experience with no base. Think about what it is you're doing. Can you convert it into something online? So, like you say, I'm a yoga teacher. I teach yoga online. I also run a travel business. Obviously, online income is becoming the way forward. It really is. Like, I think I read a statistic which said something along the lines of 60% of the jobs that schools are preparing our kids for today aren't going to exist by the time they're adults. So think about what you can do with what you've got. Where there's a will, there's a way. And it, like, again, it doesn't have to be that you go and spend 6 months away and you need £10,000 to go make that happen. If it's little and often to keep costs down, just to bring that culture and education into your lifestyle, then go for it. But I would definitely say think about your priorities, what you can bring. Like yeah, there's definitely different options out there, whether it is selling everything. Some people rent their own home as well, so they just keep their house and rent that out. Some people also do like house sitting, so you don't even actually have to pay anything. So there's like websites where someone might be going off on holiday for 2 weeks. They've got a house in sunny Florida and they want someone to come and house sit for 2 weeks for free. That's you sorted. All you've got to do is pay for your travel. So there's definitely different ways to make it happen.
Woofing is another one. Have you guys
What's within?
woofing? Oh, work trade on farms. So there's
Oh, okay.
yeah, there's websites that have the global links to farms,
Hmm.
permaculture, all kinds of, things in that realm all
Hmm.
over the world that you can go and stay in trade for working
Hmm.
on a farm. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think with probably
Yeah.
anything.org or something like that.
Yeah, that's I mean, even if you went on to get a like a work visa somewhere, so perhaps you do need to work whilst you go travel, and that's fine. So I have a TEFL, so I can teach English to foreign learners, and I initially did that to go into Thailand for a longer period of time. Then COVID hit, but then there's actually a sector for that online as well. So I spent 2 years teaching English to foreign learners online, and that's quite easy to obtain. And there'll be places all around the world that are looking for English speaking teachers. So even if it's not that you have a transferable skill online right now, or you don't have a house to sell, or you don't have a house to rent out, there are work jobs around the world. If you want to get out there in the world and you've got to work to do it, then you've got to work to do it. You're still living, you're still experiencing new things, and you're still living a different chapter in your life.
I wanted to ask you, I saw
Hmm.
something on your Instagram about crypto.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
what can you say about that?
So again, I I don't I'm not really techie, but I don't buy crypto. I have crypto bots. So I've bought bots a bit like, have you seen the Bitcoin bots that you can like in people have in their houses? So there's online ones of those. So I've bought the bots for different cryptocurrency. And say my bot, I paid 1,000, I think it was actually dollars, $1,000 for it. I've got to, that bot will mine for me and it will just keep mining, mining, mining. And then, but it won't stop at $1,000. It'll keep going. So it's not completely dependent on the trades of the crypto going up and down. So like if I buy $1,000 of Bitcoin and that drops, I've like lost. So it's almost like a little bit of a limbo period for a minute whilst you wait for your bot to make you back your 1,000. But regardless of where the crypto is on up, down, your bot's still mining and you're still earning and building a little stack of crypto. So I don't know how it is for you guys, but in the UK, banks only secure up to £85,000. So like when I sell my house and I get more than that, a bank only protects up to £85,000. And I'm not earning a great deal off of that. So for me, again, it was like, well, how else can I earn another residual income, which enables us to travel? And I just diversify my portfolio and buying crypto bots.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for educating me on that part of it. That was one of the reasons we chose El Salvador for that trip. Have you
Mhm.
heard about Bitcoin Beach, El Zonte? So they have President Bukele in El Salvador has made Bitcoin legal tender, and
Okay.
so yeah, my husband's into Bitcoin, so that was one of
Hmm.
that was one of our
Okay.
draws to El
Yeah,
Salvador. I wonder if they allow home education though. That was not something we looked into during that trip.
I think that they do. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that it is somewhere that does. But I think even if you aren't looking at crypto as a like as an income, I think a lot of things are opening up to crypto massively now. Like you say, you was able to go to El Salvador and pay in crypto. The travel business that I run, I can pay for my trips in crypto. So crypto is again going back to that statistic of what jobs are available for our kids right in the future. It's the same as even finances. It's changing, and we unfortunately, as much as we might not want it to change or we don't want to lose cash, because I do love cash, um we've got to keep up with it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's important to diversify because the world is just changing so fast, and
Hmm.
things are just going in so, especially with AI, things are going in so many different directions now
Hmm.
that I can barely keep up. So yeah, I think it's
I
really
know.
diversify, and it doesn't do any good to stick your head in the sand, and to learn about these things, I think is really important.
Hmm.
So I had one other thing that I saw on your Facebook that I would love for you to chat about, and that is pole dance. Ah, that was a surprise question there.
That was a surprise. Yeah, so so funny enough, this was I think I was 21 years old and I was doing a race for life. Do you guys have them in America?
Is that like a 5K to earn money for like a charity?
Yeah, yeah. So my
Yeah.
nan had cancer, and so I was racing for her to obviously the cancer charity. And at the end of the race, this lady just came and gave me a leaflet, and it was for pole dancing. I was like, oh, I've always been into sports, always been into fitness, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. So when was that? That was 2001. No, no, 2011, 2011. I've just added myself a few extra years there, haven't I? 2011. Um, yeah, and I took the leaflet and went to a lesson and never looked back. Absolutely loved it. And when I was on, I say on maternity leave with my second, obviously I never returned to any form of employment after my first. But when I was pregnant with my second, I did all my qualifications to teach. And so I've been teaching pole and yoga for 8 years now. I opened up my own studio. It was running for about a year, but I decided to just step back a bit because I was kind of falling into that lifestyle that I didn't want of, oh, I'm governed by a strict schedule and I was teaching 20 classes a week and it was just, whoa. So I stepped back from that this year, and I just teach 6 to 8 hours a week at the minute, and I have online coaches, online clients as well. So yeah, I love it.
I have a question.
Hmm.
You're traveling. How
Hmm.
do you do pole on the road? Because I would assume it would require the equipment.
So this is as well why I am not a fan of like a traditional gym, and I'm more of like a calisthenics style approach. So I cross train with handstands. So I absolutely love handstands and basically calisthenics. However, that does not mean that I have not used a tree or a lamppost whilst being abroad to just keep up my skills.
Yes. I might be known to grab a random light pole or something and swing it myself to my husband's embarrassment, I'm sure.
It's got to be done.
It does. And this is something that has been on my radar for the last couple of
Hmm.
years, and I would really love to get into it. And I have not found the flexibility in my schedule. I also know for a fact that as soon as I do, I'm going to become obsessed, and my husband's going to have to install a pole in our house, and then I'm going to be paying for all the lessons. And so I know it's going to be a whole thing. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's on my bucket list for sure.
Well, if you get a home pole, I can be your online coach, so you won't have to like go venture out anywhere else. But yeah, I love it, and again, it's another reason why I want a base because my hobbies are something which takes up quite a bit of space, and I don't want to lose that side of me. And the same as my family, like with pianos and guitars and things like that. So we need that for our kind of grounding time, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I can see where that would be important. I could see that too. My ultimate goal, so I told you I run a homeschool cooperative,
Hmm.
and we would like to we have our home base here in Florida, obviously, but we would like to have a school in another country also that we go back and
Hmm.
forth between. So this
Hmm.
would be like a world schooling hub, basically.
Yeah.
We've been looking in I've been in Central America some. My partner in the not-for-profit has traveled all around South America, so that's kind of been where we have been looking. But yeah, we're definitely looking for a second home base to kind of go back and forth between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing that people do. Like you say, they want that familiarity, but they also want a little bit of different. So the world schooling could be that you are taking that second base and you've got another country to explore. But I absolutely love that. That is actually one of my goals would be to, when I've got my base, my location is to run, like you say, like a homeschooling retreat, but with a fitness side to it. So I will teach like the aerial hoop, the silks, the yoga for families. It doesn't have to just be for the mums. I've taught kids as well for many years. Hopefully, I'll be in an area where there's the beaches, the hiking, the surfing, the canoe, like paddleboarding and everything. So that is one of my biggest goals
Maybe
to
you
do.
should come to Florida.
And Florida is
Come
also
teach
on
at
my
my
bucket
school.
list. I mean, I would absolutely love to. It would be so cool. And Florida is on our bucket list because my kids desperately want to do Disney World.
Ah, Disney, yeah, that's a whole, yeah, I won't even go there. When
No,
when you're from Florida, Disney is not a exciting
I
thing.
know, I can imagine. It's the adrenaline junkies that they just want to. We've been waiting until they're tall enough to do the biggest ride, which is the Hulk, I believe. So we've just been waiting till they're tall enough to do that. So I don't have to do that multiple times, just the once and done.
Well, if you come to Florida, hit me
Hmm.
up. We have several moms in our co-op that run Airbnbs. I would have places for you to
Yes.
stay. We are in North Central Florida, which is a
Hmm.
couple hours north of Orlando, and it's really beautiful. We are about an hour from the beach, like the
No.
Jacksonville side up there.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's very like full of nature, springs, lots of lakes, lots of hiking. So I would love to host you if you wanted to come.
Yes, that would be amazing. Definitely, I will get in contact when it's definitely going to happen. We are definitely going to be there at some point. So you will be hearing from me.
Yay! That would be so beautiful. Oh, this is why I love podcasting. We are about to be at the end of our hour, and so I would really love to wrap up just like advice, like some general advice that you would give if somebody was listening and they're just either excited about the idea of world schooling or just traveling with their kids and like, how do you get started? What would be your kind of broad advice for somebody who is interested in taking up this kind of lifestyle?
Tune out all the noise all around you. You're going to hear people that say don't do it. It's going to be whether you say you want to do a pole dancing lesson or you're not sending your kids to school. People are always going to have an opinion on what you're doing. So tune out their noise. It's not their life, it's your life. And then just research, like think about accessibility. If it's your first time, maybe going somewhere a little bit closer to home, and then start looking for people's blogs on that area. I mean, blogs are absolutely amazing, and I'm not just saying that because I have one, but I'm speaking from a point of view of I'm going to say to you, this hotel was amazing with kids. This restaurant was amazing with kids. This is the itinerary that I did. People are creating these to help people that don't know where to start. That's been done for you. So use the internet, use those blogs, and just make the leap because what's the worst that can happen? You don't like it and you don't do it again. Like, but you've gained from it. You're going to gain everything you do is an experience that's going to shape the rest of your life.
Yeah, and your kids' lives. And I think it
Mhm.
gets easier. So maybe
Oh,
don't give up after the first time because it can be a little
oh,
overwhelming the first time, but things do get easier and as it's like normalized and
hmm.
I personally am an avid camper. I love camping and
Oh, that's not for me.
see, I need the RV lifestyle. I
Oh,
love
okay.
yeah.
Not a 10, not a 10, not a 10.
Well, I have a
Oh.
pop-up, so that's kind of like that's like a 50-50. It's like half tent, half RV.
Yeah, okay, okay. My last tenting experience was actually when we were house hunting, funny enough. And it was the most uneven field in the world. I don't even know how these people were allowed to set it up as a campsite and charge to pitch there. We were like sleeping like this on an angle and just rolling down the hills. And it was the most uncomfortable nights of my life. I have not done that again.
Well, see, that is exactly the point I was making. So maybe embrace it again, because sometimes you
Yes.
might not have wonderful experiences, and then
Hmm.
sometimes it can be like the time of your life. It's on my bucket
This is
list
true.
also to hike the Appalachian Trail.
Hmm.
That would be some serious camping.
That would be amazing. Yeah, that would be. I think camping for a purpose like that, I could get on board with. But if you're just going to pitch up a tent for a week, in a one set location. I'll probably just pick a hotel.
Uh, yeah, my husband would agree with you as well. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And I know I will be making an appearance on your podcast also.
Yes.
So, everybody that is listening, stay tuned for that. I want to link everything in the show notes, but if you could quickly tell everybody what you have out there in the world. You have a podcast, you have your travel business, your online yoga. So, just let everybody know where to find you, how to get a hold of you, and what you do.
Hmm. Yeah, so just come and find me on Instagram, and everything's pretty much linked all there in my Instagram, but access to the blog, which is going to document all my different travels and tips and things as well on getting started on world schooling, as well as the podcast. So you can listen to everyone else's stories, not just mine. You see different perspectives from it. If you're listening from the UK, then I do have a home educating PDF to get started in home educating in the UK, and also travel business as well, which can help you get your travel a lot cheaper. So if it is finances that you're concerned about, then perhaps that'd be interesting to you to make your savings.
Yeah, I might need to hit you up about that for our next trip, especially since you have
Definitely.
experience with Costa Rica. So we'll
Oh
talk
yes, yeah,
we'll talk
yeah.
offline on that one.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much. It was such a pleasure having you on, and I can't wait to meet you in person when you come to Florida.
Thank you very much for having me.